Here we go. Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. We're live on this Thursday, December 11th. My name is Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, as always, we greatly appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. And there is so much to talk about as we talk all things Niners every single day right here on this show. Here is the 49ers Report rundown for today's live show. We're going to do a Niners-Titans Week 15 preview. San Francisco coming out of the bye. Robert Saleh, with the job that he's done as the Niners defensive coordinator, getting a lot of head coaching buzz for some potential openings this upcoming offseason. Will the Niners trade Brandon Aiyuk to the Washington Commanders? Around a lot of NFL circles, this is a topic of conversation that's starting to pick up a lot of steam. We'll do a new updated look at the NFC playoff picture, and then we'll round things out with a mailbag. So use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. Love opening up the floor and chopping it up with all of you. So if you have a question, shoot. If you have a hot take, get those questions in by using the hashtag 49ers or by sending in a super chat. About 200 people already watching live. We have 25 likes. As you come in here, please do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. More likes that we get, the more people who find the stream and the more fun that we'll have here on the show. We're about to take flight. I'm ready to go. The Niner gang ready to rock and roll as well. Producer Chip on the ones and twos. So much to talk about. Let's waste no time. Shout out to the recent commenter club. I'm seeing Shanna, Allie, Go 49ers, DeBrown, Ken Dowsland all in the chat. And with that, let's get the official show underway right now. Hey there, welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. As always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. And coming up on the show, San Francisco coming off the bye week to play host to the Tennessee Titans at Levi's Stadium in Week 15. Kickoff is set for 4:25 p.m. Eastern, 1:25 p.m. Pacific in Santa Clara, California. The Niners, sizable favorites in this game. Minus 12.5 is the number there, and the over-under at 44.5. Before we dive into the best preview that you'll find here on YouTube for this game, a programming reminder. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell icon. Turn on your notifications and join us. Therefore, anytime we publish a video like this, anytime we go live, you'll get that push notification. In addition to giving you Niners coverage every single day year-round, we go live for every Niners game right here on the show, so I hope to see all of the real ones there. My initial thoughts on this matchup as kickoff closes in here. This is a must-win game for San Francisco. An opportunity to move to 10-4 on the year, and with the Niners being 9-4 right now, really is a story of how good of a job Kyle Shanahan, Robert Saleh, and Brant Boyer have done as a collective coaching staff with all of the adversity, all of the injuries. I know that the schedule has been somewhat easy, but within that schedule, Niners do have some quality wins, and they are right in the thick of things in the NFC. But if you lose this game, it will give you a sour taste because this is one of the worst teams in the National Football League. Tennessee, a rebuilding team, nowhere close to being in the playoff hunt. San Francisco in a wide open NFC is right in it. And a big reason why the Niners have to win this game is the final three games that are facing them, right? Indianapolis Colts, a playoff level team. Even though they might be starting Phillip Rivers, you got to go to Indy and play a team that is fighting to make the playoffs, right? Then you come back home the final 2 weeks of the year to play the Chicago Bears, who were the number 1 seed going into last week. They're the 7th seed. The Niners are the 6th seed currently. Then you round out with the Seattle Seahawks. And the formula for the Niners to win this game has been really the formula that we've seen during their 3-game winning streak. The offense has to carry as they've gotten healthier. They've gotten reinforcements back, and that's where they're talent-rich and injuries haven't hit as hard. And as the offense carries, the defense continues to improve. You look at the NFC West standings here, things are so tight. And this is one of my big predictions going into this year. that I thought the NFC West was going to be one of the best and most competitive divisions in football, and that's exactly what has taken place going into Week 15. The Rams are 10-3, the Seahawks are 10-3, the Niners 9-4. And by season's end, any of those three teams have an opportunity to win this division. You look at how things shake out in the NFC playoff picture. Keep in mind, I'm recording this on Thursday, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play tonight on Thursday. The Rams are the number 1 seed at 10-3. The Niners are the 6th seed at 9-4. So one game is the difference between the 1 seed and the 6th seed. The Packers, the 2 seed at 9-3-1. The Eagles, the 3 seed. They've lost 3 games in a row at 8-5. Tampa Bay Buccaneers still leading, hanging on in the NFC South. Then you have Seattle in front of the Niners by a game as well. And Los Angeles and Seattle still have to play in a couple of weeks. Then the Chicago Bears there in that 7th spot at 9-4. San Francisco and the Bears, they play in Week 17. And across the NFL, in Week 15, a couple of games that I want all of you to be watching for this weekend. Lions on the road against the Rams. The Rams at home, SoFi Stadium, 5.5-point favorites. As of right now, the Lions on the outside looking in of the NFC playoffs, but they're also in the mix, and they're a scary team when they play their best football. The second game, Colts on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle, 13.5-point favorites. Indy has lost 3 games in a row, 4 of their last 5. Daniel Jones out for the year. And the Colts this week had to sign the 44-year-old Phillip Rivers. And that's why they're 2-touchdown dogs in this game. We'll be rooting hard for the story that is Phillip Rivers, but for the Colts to knock off Seattle because San Francisco could use a Seahawks defeat. Going back to the Tennessee Titans here, an outlook on this Titans team. They selected Cam Ward, the quarterback out of Miami, with the number 1 pick in April's NFL draft. He started every game, as is the case with the rookie on a bad team who's already had his head coach fired. There's been some good, there's been some bad. But they are bereft of talent on that Titans roster. And speaking of that head coach, they fired Brian Callahan. And so Mike McCoy, who was a big Peyton Manning guy with the Denver Broncos and used to be the head coach for the Chargers, is now the interim head coach. And there's a lot of buzz that Mike McCarthy, the former Packers and Cowboys coach, is looked at as the front runner and the favorite to get that Titans head coaching job. I said it months ago. I like his fit to Tennessee. You're in Nashville. It's a growing city. McCarthy has been the head coach for 2 really big brands, Green Bay, Dallas. He's dealt with pressure, but the pressure in Nashville, not as great as it is in Green Bay, Wisconsin, or with the Cowboys. Most importantly, he has done a great job of winning and developing quarterbacks, and I think that he could develop Cam Ward very well. The Titans so far, here's how they've fared on their 2025 schedule. Week 1, lost to the Broncos 20-12. Week 2, kept it close for a half, then got blown out by the Rams 33-19. Lost by 3 touchdowns to the Colts at home. Lost 26-0 and got blanked by the Houston Texans. Their first win of the year, Week 5, on the road against the Arizona Cardinals. And one of the craziest games that we've seen this year as far as the percentage chances that the Cardinals had to win that game. Demarcus was going to run it in. The Cardinals were going to take that big lead, and then he fumbled at the half-yard line. That led to an insane Titans comeback. Then the Titans lost 20-10 on the road against the Raiders, 31-13 on the road against the Patriots, 38-14 on the road against the Colts, 27-20 loss at home against the Chargers, lost again to the Texans by 3. It was a lot closer than that first go-around. Lost to the Seahawks by 6, but then lost 25-3 to the Jags. And then last week, Cam Ward against Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders balled, but Tennessee got the win, holding off Cleveland 31-29. As for some Niners injury news here, Tennessee, a pretty healthy football team. Tatum Bethune dealing with an ankle injury. Defensive end Sam Okuwanu, also a high ankle like Tatum Bethune. Linebacker Nick Martin, as of this recording, still in concussion protocol. Fullback Kyle Juszczyk returned to practice this week. We'll see if the new linebacker Eric Kendricks can give it a go. hasn't played with this Niners team, was signed in the lead up to that Browns game, but they wanted to get him acclimated with this defense. He's been dealing with a little bit of a calf issue, so San Francisco trying to get him ramped up. And then defensive end Yetur Gross-Matos, who missed time with the knee, then with the hamstring injury, he had his practice window opened, the highest graded pass rushing grade, according to PFF, on this Niners roster. So with that, who you got in this game? TEN for the Tennessee Titans, SF for the San Francisco 49ers. Let me know who you're rolling with in this Week 15 matchup. Now, coming up next, we're just getting started with our preview here. I'm going to give you my keys to the game, top matchups to watch, what the Niners must do to beat Tennessee. That's all coming up just around the corner. But let me tell you about our sponsor, our friends at Ridge, powering today's San Francisco 49ers report. This Ridge wallet has been a game changer for me. You can put up to 12 cards plus cash in this, and it's still thinner than my iPhone. It's practical, it's durable, it's made with premium materials like titanium and aluminum. Carbon fiber is the one that I have. And I'm somebody who hates having way too much in my pockets. It gives me anxiety. And so with the Ridge 2.0, it frees up my pockets. It's so thin, easy to carry around. And I no longer have that big, fat, thick, crusty brick in my pocket any longer. They also have some really badass designs. The Ridge 2.0, it's 10% lighter. Every gram matters. They found the perfect balance here. They made it more modular with improved cash straps, money clips, and the AirTag attachment is awesome. If you were to lose your wallet, you have the AirTag attachment on it. You'll be able to track it down. Improved surface design with tonal logos and matching plated cash straps made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, carbon fiber. Over 50 plus colors and styles to choose from. You can even get a wallet that features every NFL, Major League Baseball, or college team. If you want a Niners wallet, you can get that. Perfect for holiday gifting, especially since Ridge is having their biggest sale of the year right now. Over 100,000 five-star reviews. That is proof that Ridge is a gift that people love to receive. Ridge isn't just about wallets, though. They create premium everyday carry essentials like key cases, suitcases, and their game-changing power banks, all built with the same sleek, durable design. You'll find the perfect gift for every wish list. So, for a limited time, Ridge is having their huge holiday sale. Head to ridge.com/chat. Get up to 47% off your order. This is by far the biggest discount they've given all year. That's ridge.com/chat for up to 47% off your order during their biggest sale of the year. After you make your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that the 49ers Report sent you. To the back half of our preview, the meat and potatoes of our Niners-Titans preview. Let's get to it here. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. Coming up on the show, my keys to the game, top matchups to watch, what the Niners must do to beat Tennessee to push their record to 10-4. And as always, I'm going to give you my prediction as well. Let's first take a look at how the Titans have fared going into Week 15 on both sides of the ball. There is a reason why this is one of the worst teams in the National Football League and why it would be unacceptable if San Francisco were to lose this ball game. On offense, led by the number 1 overall pick in Cam Ward. He hasn't had a lot of help, and you see that the offensive numbers are brutal. 31st in points per game at 15.5. 32nd in yards per game at 246.2. 32nd in yards per play at 4.2. Also dead last in third down conversion rate at 29.9%. And in the red zone, they're scoring touchdowns at a 52.1% clip. On defense, anytime you're not playing complimentary football, you leave your defense out there to dry. They do have some good talent on that side of the ball, led by number 98 on your screen and Jeffrey Simmons. But on defense, the numbers aren't pretty either. 29th in points per game, 26th in yards per game, 27th in yards per play, 16th on third downs, and 26th in the red zone. As for San Francisco, their offensive numbers have started to increase and go up. And on this 3-game winning streak, Brock Purdy obviously has had his ups and downs, but he's led this team to 3-0 since he's come back, and some quality offensive explosion. 16th in points per game for the Niners cumulatively all year, 12th in yards per game, 16th in yards per play, second on third downs. With Purdy, that number has really been on the uptick, 8th in the red zone. Third down red zone, two areas that really killed this team last year. This year, they've vastly improved. I think Kyle Shanahan has also had a really good year. And then on defense, the fact that Robert Saleh's defense, 8th in points per game. What an incredible job he's been able to do this season. 20th in yards per game, 22nd in yards per play, 14th on third downs, 14th in the red zone. And so with that, we flip the page to my keys to the game and the top matchups to watch. The Niners defense must dominate this game. There are no excuses. This Titans offense, as we highlighted, an awful unit and one of the worst offenses in recent memory. Now, I really like Cam Ward coming out of Miami, his ability to throw with touch, make plays out of structure, the clutch gene, he has it, and I'm excited to see what he can do with the better coaching staff when he gets more talent. But this Titans team is pretty talentless, and that's led to Cam Ward having a very difficult rookie year. I like the mindset, I like the mental fortitude, and I like the makeup, and I think that eventually he can become a really good player. But he's not right now because this Titans team on offense is dreadful. He's completing 59% of his passes for under 2,500 yards, only 9 passing touchdowns all year and 7 picks. He started every game. His number one back, not a bad player, in Tony Pollard. Tennessee did make a lot of investments into the offensive line this offseason. Hasn't really reaped a lot of benefits. Pollard this year, 743 rushing yards on 175 carries and 4 touchdowns. Their leading receiver is Chig Uwakwu, and he's a tight end, been in the league for a couple of years, 6'3", 238. Calvin Ridley hurt out for the year, and he has 41 catches, 426 yards, and no touchdowns. So obviously, when I say that this Titans team is bereft of talent, that's exactly what I'm talking about, and that should give this defense another opportunity to gather confidence, to put up another good defensive performance, to continue to take advantage of this momentous ride that they are on. And you think about the 3 teams that they've beaten during this 3-game winning streak. Arizona, Carolina, Cleveland. You beat Tennessee. That gives Robert Saleh an opportunity, too, during this process to figure out what he likes personnel-wise, what play calls are working. And it just gives this Niners team a good sample size to continue to build up that confidence and get reps together for a team that doesn't have a lot of defensive continuity because of all of the injuries there. Key to the game number 2. This is a chance for Brock Purdy to cook. And we're going to take a look at Purdy's 3 games since coming off that injury. Of course, he suffered the turf toe in week 1, came back in week 4. Then we didn't see him again until that Arizona game. And he was very efficient against Arizona. I was surprised that he seemingly didn't need to knock off any rust. 19 of 26, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, a quarterback rating of 133.5. But then against Carolina, a step back for him. 3 interceptions, all of them came in the first half. He was 23 of 32 for 193 yards and a rating of 58.5. Still, though, I thought it was impressive how San Francisco was able to win that game by 11 points. They covered the spread, and despite those turnovers, they still had a solid offensive performance when you took a look at the tape. And then against Cleveland, cold, windy, bad weather. Brock Purdy doesn't have a great history of playing in inclement weather. Kyle Shanahan had been owned by Jim Schwartz, 1-9 all-time in his career. I thought Purdy made some high-level plays. 16 of 29, 168 yards, 2 total touchdowns, 1 on the ground, 1 through the air, and a quarterback rating of 83.7. So against Tennessee, you continue to knock off some of the cobwebs and get yourself in a spot where you're playing your best football during this big 3-game stretch to end the year with the playoffs on the horizon. Key to the game number 3, this is more of a storyline, but Christian McCaffrey is closing in on history on a couple of different fronts going into this Tennessee game. Now, you look at his numbers from this entire season, it's been fantastic to see CMC healthy again. Rushing-wise, 849 rushing yards. Receiving-wise, 806 receiving yards. He has 237 carries, 85 catches, leads all players in the NFL in touches, and he's averaging more than 120 total yards per game. It's been an absolute game changer, and he's combined for 8 touchdowns on the ground and 5 through the air. As for the historical component of this, Christian McCaffrey on Sunday against the Titans, if he has 5 catches, he can become the first running back in NFL history with 90 catches in 3 years. Christian McCaffrey on Sunday against the Titans with 93 receiving yards can become the third running back with 900 receiving yards twice in a career. And then lastly, if he has 145 scrimmage yards, he can become the fifth running back with 1,800 scrimmage yards in 5 seasons. He's putting together, honestly, a Hall of Fame-worthy career. Key to the game number 4, the interior of this Niners offensive line will be tested. Now, last year, Tennessee wasn't good either, but they did have, statistically, a very good defense and some really good defensive personnel. The interior of this Niners offensive line has been a big reason why the Niners have been able to go on this 3-game winning streak. Dominic Pooney, Spencer Burford playing a lot better. Jake Brendel has been just okay. But how do they match up against one of the top interior defensive linemen in the National Football League in Jeffrey Simmons, who has been getting it done for a really long time? 8 sacks this year, 12 TFLs, 49 pressures, and a pass rush grade of 90.7. For a 2-win team, this guy is a straight-up star. Lastly, I want to see this Niners offense get Ricky Pearsall involved. Since he's come back over the last 3 games alongside Brock Purdy, he hasn't had the production that he had to start the year. And it's not necessarily because he's playing poorly. I think at times he's been able to put cornerbacks into a cyclone and he's been able to get open. But this offense is at its best and most explosive when Ricky Pearsall is a focal point in the passing game. And since he's come back off that PCL injury, he hasn't gotten going. The Titans are giving up 8 yards per completion. That is second to last in the NFL. And with Brock Purdy shaking off the cobwebs, knocking off the rust, with Ricky Pearsall getting healthier, more acclimated, this is a game where the explosive plays downfield could be presentable for this Niners offense. Pearsall against Arizona, first came back. 2 targets, 1 catch, 0 yards. Against Carolina, 4 targets, 2 catches, 6 yards. Against Cleveland, 3 targets, 2 catches, 14, although one of them came on a pretty big play, I believe the final drive of that first half. But I just want to see Ricky Pearsall get going like he was going earlier in the season, because that's when this offense is at its best, is at its most explosive, when Pearsall's a focal point in the passing game. Predict the score. Titans-Niners coming up week 15 on Sunday at Levi's Stadium. I think San Francisco blows out Tennessee. They're rested up. They're rejuvenated. They're feeling confident. I think they win their 4th game in a row, and they win this game by 14 points. All right, Niners-Titans preview in the books. 341 people watching, 93 likes. Let's get that like number past 100. Superman, Chase, I got that Juice jersey today. It's on my wall. How awesome is that? You already put it up? Incredible. Thanks for supporting the show. Appreciate that. For our mailbag, that'll be a part of segment number 3. Segment number 2 coming up here in just a moment. If you're just joining us, use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. Within your comments, just use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. You do that, and we'll get your questions featured here on the show. Chip, do we have enough questions as of yet?
We got to step it up now. We
Okay.
got no questions
Far.
What's going on?
We only plugged it one time, but if you want to do a mailbag, use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. I know you all have questions. I have answers. So use that hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. All right, segment number 2. Couple different things that I want to talk about here. Will Brandon Aiyuk get traded to the Commanders? Robert Saleh getting head coaching buzz. That's part of the good news and the bad news that I put in the title for today's live show. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and let's keep this show rolling. Hey there, welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. And coming up on today's show, this upcoming offseason, will the Niners trade wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk to the Washington Commanders? There's a lot of traction and buzz on that front that I want to get to that's timely here. And also, Niners defensive coordinator Robert Saleh, in his return to San Francisco this year, has done a tremendous job leading this defensive unit. But because of that, he's getting a lot of head coaching buzz for some potential openings this upcoming offseason. I first want to say thank you to all of the real ones who continue to support this show and watch the channel. The 49ers Report just surpassed 183,000 subscribers. Since talking Niners on this program since 2021, we've been able to build something special, and I'm glad all of you think the same. So if you haven't subscribed, do so right now. As we know, the 49ers a couple of weeks ago voided the guarantees in Brandon Aiyuk's 2026 contract. And so what that does for the Niners next year is open up $25 million in cap space in 2026. Over the next few years, it opens up $80 to $90 million in cap space because sometimes those numbers are a little bit fluid, and we'll wait for clarity on that as the months and years go by. But either way, San Francisco, by doing this, opening up a lot of cap room for now and in the future. And what's interesting about this situation is that Brandon Aiyuk is not fighting this with the NFL Players Association, meaning he's pretty much okay with forking over about $25 million, and he's not going to take this to the NFL Players Association to try to fight back, to try to get some of that money. Isn't that a little bit weird? Doesn't that make you scratch your head a little bit? I know that Aiyuk's made some decent coin, and pretty much the Niners paid him $31 million to play 7 games for this team after signing that extension last year and getting some guarantees and bonuses in that. But what that tells me is that Aiyuk just wants out from San Francisco. And it's pretty telling that here we are entering week 15. The Niners have not opened up his practice window. He hasn't been seen around the facility. And the Niners are 9-4 in the thick of a playoff race. He could really help this team. He got that surgery for the ACL, MCL, and meniscus back in November. I think that he could be medically cleared, but he's not getting on the field, which again tells me he wants no parts of playing for the Niners again. So I don't think we're going to see number 11 in a Niners uniform any longer. And there is a theory out there worth exploring, which makes a ton of sense for why Aiyuk is not fighting the situation with the NFL Players Association. Is there a secret deal behind the scenes? Is Aiyuk not contesting this because the Niners and him have talked about a trade this upcoming offseason to the Washington Commanders? This isn't some taboo thing to talk about. I think there's a realistic scenario this happens, and we're about to get to some intel from some NFL insiders. This has been talked about in NFL circles. Why this would happen? In voiding the 2026 guarantees in Aiyuk's contract for next year, right? San Francisco is able to save some cap space that is valuable to them as compared to them having to eat even more dead money, right? So if they save cap space and they can trade BA, they get value back for Aiyuk as well. And if they trade Aiyuk, he gets to go to a destination that he wants to go to. Before he signed that extension in the lead up to last year, and as we know, it was a messy contract dispute, the Niners had deals worked out to send him to New England or send him to Cleveland. And even though Aiyuk didn't have a no trade clause, he said, I'm not going there because I'm not going to sign an extension with those teams. Turns out a deal to New England would have been pretty damn good for him. Anywho. But he's long been rumored to want to play with Jane Daniels. And the thing with an Aiyuk trade is, I don't think a lot of teams across the NFL want to give up draft capital for Brandon Aiyuk, pay him under the current construct of that contract, not knowing the person they are getting and the player that they're getting. Brandon Aiyuk from 2020 through 2023, exceptional player. He developed into an all-pro. He was a top 10 to 15 wide receiver in the NFL. But teams don't know if they're acquiring him under that contract, how he looks, if he's even healthy, how he's going to perform at that price tag coming off an ACL, MCL, and meniscus tear. But with the Washington Commanders, there is a sense of familiarity between that organization and Brandon Aiyuk. And it's that Jaden Daniels connection. B.A. and Jaden Daniels played together at Arizona State. In the lead up to Aiyuk's contract and during that saga, he was at one time on FaceTime with Jaden Daniels telling him the Niners don't want me any longer, and Aiyuk had his girl filming that. There was another time before Aiyuk put pen to paper on that contract that he put out a photo, I believe on his Instagram story, of him watching Commanders practice tape of Jaden Daniels. Daniels was at Brandon Aiyuk's wedding. Brock Purdy, his quarterback, was not at BA's wedding. Deebo Samuel was there, although he's going to be a free agent after the year. He's played solid this season, and Washington is said to want to retain him potentially. But also, the general manager for the Commanders is Adam Peters, who used to be John Lynch's right-hand man and the assistant GM with San Francisco from 2017 through 2023. And so Adam Peters was a part of the front office that drafted BA, and he knows the player who he is. Washington also has money to absorb that Aiyuk contract. In 2026, their cap room, top 5 in the NFL, $81.9 million. And going back to this being a big talking point in NFL circles, here's what Dan Graziano, NFL insider for ESPN, said. On offense, Washington has been pegged by a lot of people as a potential destination for Brandon Aiyuk, as it's believed he'd like to team up with former Arizona State teammate Jaden Daniels. Now, the Commanders signed Terry McLaurin to that deal. They're not sure what's going to happen with BA. But if they bring back Deebo at a decent rate, they could afford McLaurin, Aiyuk, and Deebo and put together a solid 1-2-3 punch at the wide receiver spot. And again, BA is best friends with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels has been injured all this year. He's going to be looking to have a bounce back season. He's going to need some help on the offensive side of the ball. And will it help Jaden Daniels knowing he's best friends with BA? Here's what Jeremy Fowler said about this situation. The Aiyuk-Washington connection makes a lot of sense. So as you look ahead to the offseason, obviously San Francisco in the thick of a playoff hunt right now. We are going to keep tabs on this because I do think this could happen. And if the Niners can trade him and get value back and get out of that contract while opening up cap space, that's a big win for San Francisco. I will say it is unfortunate how fast Aiyuk's stock fell with the Niners. He got to a point where 2020 to 2021 to 2022 to 2023, he got better and better and better and better every single year. He developed into an all-pro player. He was beloved by this fan base. But with the way that he handled the contract situation, all the cryptic posts, the bad body language, the attitude, him getting into that spat during practice with Kyle Shanahan, him signing the deal and still being unhappy, and now him pretty much giving up and quitting on his team, his stock in the toilet. Still to come here on today's show, Robert Saleh, given the job that he's done in leading this Niners defense, getting a lot of head coaching buzz. We're about to get into that, but first, let's get to our sponsor. Today's San Francisco 49ers report is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in the game. It's the holiday season, the best time of year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there is one place where it feels good to be right. That place, Prize Picks. New feature alert, Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out of those winnings before the game even finishes. And let me ask you this, is your fantasy season already over? Your team might be cooked, right? You might not be in the playoffs right now. But with Prize Picks, you don't have to wait until next year's draft. Prize Picks lets you play fantasy football every week. Pick your favorite players and win when they hit their projections, No draft required. 3-pick power play for Sunday's game. Christian McCaffrey, more than 45.5 receiving yards and more on the half rushing or receiving touchdown. And then Niner legend Joey Sly, more than a half field goal made. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's talk Robert Saleh here. I really can't say enough about the job that Robert Saleh has done in 2025. You lose Nick Bosa in week 3. You lose Fred Warner shortly thereafter. And still, this Niners team is 9-4 on the year. They are top 10 in points per game allowed. Robert Saleh has made chicken salad out of chicken shit. He's developed players. He's maximized players. He's gotten creative. He's been able to adapt and evolve with the personnel that he has at his disposal. And for the most part, this Niners defense has played pretty damn well given the circumstances of how injured they've been, all of the adversity that they've had to face. We're not talking about two slumps here. We're talking about Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, who are two of the best players in the history of this organization, two of the best players of all time at their positions, two potential future Hall of Famers, for sure, for Fred Warner. And you look at these defensive numbers here. Look, you can give up yards and be 20th there, but Robert Saleh's defense this year has defined bend, but do not break. And you can give up yards, but can you hold teams to field goals? If you do, that is a win for your defense, especially with how hard it is to play defense in today's NFL. And so to be 8th in points per game is incredible. To be 14th on third downs and in the red zone, that is really good stuff from Robert Saleh. And when you do a job like Robert Saleh has done this year to this level, where you've been arguably the best defensive coordinator in the game, given the cards that you've been dealt, you are going to get some opportunities to be an NFL head coach. And that brings me to this. I get this question a lot from fans. Chase, why would Robert Saleh leave the 49ers after having success here once again to get a head coaching job with another team? If you're a competitive person, you want to be at the top of your industry, right? And for Robert Saleh, the top of his industry is being a head coach. And from his standpoint, yeah, he's been a great defensive coordinator for the Niners from 2017 through 2020 and here in 2025. But during his stint with the New York Jets, he was with a bad organization, with one of the worst owners in the sport, an organization that doesn't have a great foundation, not a lot of stability there, and the defenses there were never his problem. But the organization during his Jets stint could never get the quarterback right. And so Robert Saleh is probably thinking, man, if we're able to get the quarterback right, I know that I can have my defense humming. I know that I can be a head coach in this league. Robert Saleh is a very confident guy. He's confident in his ability. So he probably feels as though he can go somewhere and be a successful head coach. Being a defensive coordinator is not being a head coach. And I don't think he feels as though he got a fair shot with the New York Jets. I mean, they fired him last year. They ended up being even worse with Jeff Ulbrich as interim head coach as compared to Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh is a great leader of men. He does a great job with his defensive mindset of adapting, evolving, and being innovative with the current trends and nuances of offensive football. Players rally for him. They absolutely love him. He did some really nice things on the defensive side of the ball with the Jets. And if he were to go to a better situation where he can be a head coach, I think that he can flourish. Plus, you make more money being a head coach as compared to a DC. And I just think that that competitive itch might be itching at him. Now, his situation with the Niners right now, it's fantastic. He's working alongside Kyle Shanahan. They are clearly very tight. He's one of, if not the highest paid defensive coordinators in football. If he gets Nick Bosa and Fred Warner back next year, a defense that has been pretty damn good this year, especially with the analytics, can be even better next year. He can try to realistically chase a Super Bowl. But myself, you, anybody who's competitive, you're always, when you're in your prime, looking to see how far you can make it in your industry. You're always trying to test your boundaries to see what you're capable of. And I think that is in the back of Robert Saleh's mind. Plus, being able to be the CEO of an organization, pretty damn cool. It's one of 32 jobs in the world. And with that, let's segue to this. Albert Breer, NFL insider for Sports Illustrated, put together a list of his top 43 head coaching candidates, and Robert Saleh is, of course, on that list. And Albert Breer spoke glowingly of Saleh. He said Saleh, 46 years old, may have had the best candidacy boost of any coach this season simply by virtue of how his former quarterback and team performed without him. ESPN's Bill Barnwell dug up the stat that has come to define Saleh's candidacy for a second head coaching job. In the Jets' final 17 games with Saleh as head coach, the team was number 1 in defensive EPA per play allowed and points per drive allowed. In the team's first 17 games without Saleh, they were the worst team in the NFL by those same metrics. Saleh's injury-battered Niners defense is 8th in points allowed despite not having its best 2 players, Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, for most of the season. The Niners have allowed just 17 points over the past 2 weeks. Saleh interviewed for openings in Jacksonville and Dallas last year and was also offered a hefty deal to be the Raiders' defensive coordinator and heir to Pete Carroll. Meaning, if Pete Carroll coached a couple of years and Robert Saleh was the DC, the Raiders had a plan in place to make Saleh the next head coach after Pete Carroll. So he is looked at very highly in NFL circles. So obviously, I'm hoping that Robert Saleh stays with the Niners. He is a joy to watch in coordinating and coaching up this defense. But if he gets another opportunity to be a head coach, again, one of 32 jobs in the world, I'm not going to blame him. Don't forget to give me a follow on social media. You can find me on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Chase_Senior. I just started my TikTok page a couple of Saturdays ago. Already closing in on 4,000 followers. I appreciate all of the real ones. Cerebral Assassin, $5 super chat. I'm late, but thanks for the stream, Chase. My man, thank you for being here. You're never late. You're here. That's all we care about. Angry Mob, $5 super chat. Saleh was fired from the Jets, then he came back and is saving this season. And I tweeted this out earlier today. Can you imagine where this Niners defense would be this year if Nick Sorensen was the DC? They wouldn't be 9-4. They wouldn't be in the playoff hunt, and they would be one of the worst defenses in the sport. Mailbag's coming up next if we have enough questions. Use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. Obviously, those super chats that came in, we can include those. But Black Mask, I know you know ball. I know you like talking ball. Get a question in using the hashtag 49ers. Chip, are we good on that front?
Yeah, good stuff from the people. Got a good amount of questions in, so we're definitely good to go here.
All right.
Shout out.
Let's get to segment number 3. We'll take a updated look at the Niners playoff picture, and then we'll take your questions on the backside, and we'll round out with that. Shout out to the recent commenter club, Niner Gang, Wet Noodle, my guy. I see you using the hashtag 49ers, Black Mask, Jesse Gonzalez, Death Destroyer of Words, Superman, all in the building. So here we go. Another great show on tap for today's edition of the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Senior, and coming up here on the show, we're going to take a look at the Niners playoff path and an updated look at that. How San Francisco can make the dance, what they might have to do to win the NFC West. How San Francisco can track down the number 1 seed in home field advantage to play at Levi's Stadium and potentially get to the Super Bowl, which happens to be at Levi's Stadium for Super Bowl 60. And then, of course, we'll take your questions on the show as well on the backside. And this is a good place to start. Just to refresh your memory here and give you a look as to what's coming up for this Niners ball club. They had a Week 14 bye, very out of the ordinary, very late. Kyle Shanahan even said, I don't know if I would wish to have this again. It was a little bit weird. But look, the Niners went into the bye having won 3 games in a row. They come out of it feeling refreshed. They're a little bit healthier. And this upcoming stretch, going to be a lot of fun here because of what is on the line. So they host the Tennessee Titans on Sunday, one of the worst teams in football. That should be a cupcake game, and it's a must-win game for San Francisco because you can't afford to lose to a team like that. Week 16, the Niners will be on the road against the Indianapolis Colts on Monday Night Football. As early as this time last week, we were all saying, this game is going to be fun. Monday night in Indianapolis, the Colts fighting for a playoff bid in the AFC. Daniel Jones this year, although he had cooled off, much improved from an offensive play calling and play design standpoint. I really like Shane Steichen as a head coach. Jonathan Taylor has been in the running for Offensive Player of the Year this season. Their offensive line is really good. They have some really good wide receivers on that team. That defense pretty solid, led by the new defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, who was with the Bengals for such a long time. But then what happened last Sunday? Daniel Jones pops his Achilles. And now the 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, who has not played since 2020, who's been coaching high school football since then, who is a grandfather, who is older than his head coach and his offensive coordinator, might be starting in this game. So this game, from the Colts being competitive, might not have the lust that it did this time last week. But from an intriguing standpoint, I hope that Phillip Rivers plays this game because I need to watch him play if he can survive this game this weekend on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. After that Colts game, San Francisco hosts the Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football. The Bears, as recently as Sunday morning, were the number 1 seed in the NFC. Now they're the 7 seed behind the 6-seeded Niners. That game could determine a high seed in the NFC or a wild card spot. And then the division could come down to Week 18. Niners, Seahawks. San Francisco went up to Seattle in Week 1, and they had a last-second victory that came down to the wire. Brock Purdy heroics, Nick Bosa strip sack. Seattle looking for their revenge. They're 10-3. They're one of the best all-around teams in football. And this game is going to be massive in a rivalry game between two teams that absolutely hate each other and one of the fiercest rivalries in all of sports. And so that's the Niners' remaining schedule here. As far as the NFC playoff picture goes, of note, I'm recording this on Thursday evening just before the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play on Thursday Night Football. So we'll see what happens there. But it's not going to mess with the seeds because it's still between them and Carolina. So the other seeds still going to be relevant for when you watch this video here. The Rams the number 1 seed at 10-3. Packers the 2 seed at 9-3-1. Eagles the 3 seed at 8-5. Seattle in that 5 spot at 10-3. The Niners last week did not play but moved up from 7 to 6. And because the Bears lost to Green Bay, they dropped down to the number 7 seed. Other teams in the mix here. Detroit at 8-5. Carolina at 7-6. Dallas at 6-1. And what a division this has ended up being here in 2025 in the NFC West. And one of my predictions going into this year has ended up being totally true. I had said, I think this division is going to come down potentially to Week 18. It's going to be a divisional race where any team could win it. And it's going to be close all throughout the year and very competitive. And when you think about how well coached these teams are, you obviously look at their records and the talent on these respective teams. I think it's the best division top to bottom in the NFL. And why it's important for the Niners to win this game against Tennessee, they have to maintain ground with the Rams and Seattle. And that's why you can't afford to lose to a team like Tennessee when you're 13.5-point favorites. The Rams' remaining schedule, if you're San Francisco and you want to get that number 1 seed, you want to win this division, you're hoping that Los Angeles can drop 1 or 2 games at least here on out until the end of the year. And the Rams' schedule the next 2 weeks, pretty hard. They play the Lions at home, but Detroit played on Thanksgiving. They played on Thanksgiving, then the following Thursday. So back-to-back Thursday games, but they have the rest advantage, even though they're traveling to Inglewood, California. Going to be a hard game because Detroit, good team, and they're fighting to get into the wild card hunt. Then the Rams have to go on the road and play Seattle on a short week on Thursday Night Football. That game, too, could determine the NFC West champion. Then the Rams have to go on the road and play the Falcons on Monday Night Football. Week 18, they round out with the Cardinals at home. The Seahawks' remaining schedule. It's unfortunate that Daniel Jones got hurt because I think that makes this Colts game a lot easier, although I can't wait to watch Phillip Rivers if he does end up playing. But week 15, Seahawks at home against Indy. Week 16, they get the Rams at home on Thursday Night Football. The game on the road against the Panthers isn't going to be easy. We just saw the Rams 2 weeks ago lose as 10-point favorites on the road against Carolina. Carolina going to be fighting to win the NFC South. And then Seattle, of course, on the road to play the Niners. And so a couple of marquee games to look out for in Week 15. Lions, Rams, 5.5-point favorites. Colts, Seahawks, Seattle, 13.5-point favorites. Keep tabs closely on those games while, of course, hanging out with us here live on the 49ers Report and hoping that the Niners can pull out a dub. Let's also get to this because this is so fascinating. There's a path for the 49ers to get the number 1 seed and home field advantage in the NFC. Here is the simplest path to accomplishing that. Step number 1. The Niners have to win the rest of their games against the Titans, at the Colts, home against the Bears and Seahawks. That will be hard to do, but it is possible. If the Niners win the rest of their games, they need the Rams to lose against the Seahawks or Cardinals in the NFC West. The Niners also need the Packers at 9-3-1 to lose a game. Next 2 games for Green Bay, they travel to Denver and Chicago. Hard slate. The Niners also would have a 5-1 record in the NFC West that would allow them to win the division while finishing 13-4 on the year. If they do all of that and they get some help, that is the path for San Francisco to get the number 1 seed and home field advantage for the NFC playoffs, where perhaps they wouldn't have to travel anywhere if they can make it to the Super Bowl, because Super Bowl 60 is at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. As for some of the playoff odds and percentages for San Francisco, according to the ESPN Football Power Index, to make the playoffs, the Niners right now sitting pretty. They have a 93.4% chance to make the postseason. With a win against Tennessee, the percentages go up to 96.1%. If the Niners lose against Tennessee, that would be bad, but they still would have an 80.2% chance of making the playoffs. To win the NFC West, San Francisco only has a 16.1% chance. Everybody is counting out San Francisco. They're saying that Seattle or the Rams will win it. The Niners still have hope, and the Niners still have a realistic path to winning this division. So predict it. What seed will the Niners get in the NFC playoffs? That is the big question right now for San Francisco. Join the conversation down below and let me know what you're thinking down in the comment section right now with those predictions. Today's 49ers Report is brought to you by Ridge. I have the Ridge Wallet 2.0, the carbon fiber edition. This has been a game changer for me. I hate having too much in my pockets. When it's all cluttered, I can't get to my chapstick. I start freaking out a little bit. That's what was happening when I had a big fat leather brick like the one that we're flashing on your screen right here. But the Ridge Wallet 2.0, it is sleek, it is modern, it is durable, it is so practical. Inside this, you can put up to 12 cards plus cash, and it is still thinner than my iPhone. How crazy is that? And the proof is in the pudding. That's why Ridge has over 100,000 five-star reviews. That's proof that Ridge is a gift that people love to receive. If you're looking for the perfect gift for this holiday season, how about a Niners-themed Ridge wallet or key case? Because Ridge has over 50-plus colors and styles to choose from. You can even get a wallet that features every NFL, Major League Baseball, or college team. This is perfect for holiday gifting, especially since Ridge is having their biggest sale of the year right now. Plus, all Ridge wallets have new industry-leading built-for-life warranty, so even if your wallet gets lost or stolen, they've got you covered. As far as the Ridge 2.0, everything is better. They've been perfecting this for 12 years. It's 10% lighter, made more modular with improved cash straps, money clips, and the AirTag attachments. What I love about the Ridge wallet, it's the last wallet I'll ever have to get because it's made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber. So here's the deal. For a limited time, Ridge is having their huge holiday sale. head to ridge.com. Get up to 47% off your order. This is by far the biggest discount they've given all year. That's ridge.com for up to 47% off your order during their biggest sale of the year. After you make your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that the 49ers Report sent you. Let's start to take your questions here. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. Excited to open up the floor and take all of your questions for a mailbag. Niners going into this Week 15 game against the Tennessee Titans. It's been a really exciting year for San Francisco, considering what they've accomplished up until this point, given everything that's gone against them. And it's always fun to watch a football team that is extremely well coached, very disciplined, that fights hard and plays hard every single week. And that's what we've seen from this Niners 2025 team, as I think Kyle Shanahan, by far and away, is the coach of the year. And Robert Saleh, for that matter, I think he's the best defensive coordinator in football this year with what he's done with this unit. All right, let's begin by taking this $5 super chat with Angry Mob watching the show. Robert Saleh was fired from the Jets, then he came back, and he is saving the season. Yeah. And when Robert Saleh was fired by the Jets, I said right away, the Niners need to bring him back, whether it be during the 2024 season or after the year during the offseason. Obviously, Salah had joined Matt LaFleur's staff with the Green Bay Packers, and he was working as like an offensive analyst. But I was a believer that Salah could come back and lead this Niners defense. He's a great leader. I thought San Francisco needed that energy back on the sideline because Nick Sorensen was just a flatliner, and San Francisco needed some juice on that sideline. Last year, they were missing physicality, swagger, playing with confidence on the defensive side of the rock. But there's one thing about Robert Saleh, too. It's his ability to get creative with his defensive calls, adapting his scheme, continuing to evolve and innovate with the modern trends of offensive football. And we've seen, as the Niners have lost the likes of Nick Bosa, and they've lost the likes of Fred Warner, he's been able to adapt his play calling, his scheme, the personnel, and figure out ways to be successful on the defensive side of the ball. And could you imagine if Nick Sorensen was the defensive coordinator for this team, how bad the Niners would look? They wouldn't be 9-4. I don't think they'd be in the playoff hunt. And this defense statistically would be one of the worst defenses in football. Yet the Niners this year, top 10 in points per game allowed without Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. Now, their pass rush isn't great. They're dead last in sacks, dead last in pressure percentage. But Robert Saleh, as I've said all year, making chicken salad out of chicken shit. And it's a great example of a superior, elite coaching job that's been really fun to watch. We've also seen some players develop under his watch, like Jair Brown finding a groove. Diamador Lenore, Renardo Green, playing pretty damn well. Some of these defensive linemen, Keon White, Cleveland Farrell, they get added to this team. They've helped to save the year with their pass rush production. Evan Wendt, $5 super chat. Thank you for that super chat donation, man. I appreciate that. Chase, who do you think could try to replace Robert Saleh if he were to leave? That's a really good question. So you first look in-house, right? And the assistant head coach of the defense right now is Gus Bradley. The origins of the Niners defensive scheme that they run came from the Legion of Boom. Well, Gus Bradley was the Legion of Boom defensive coordinator under Pete Carroll. Given what he did with Seattle, he got the head coaching job with Jacksonville. Guess who Gus Bradley hired as his linebackers coach? Whenever he got that head coaching job, he hired Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh did such a great job at Jacksonville that when Kyle Shanahan took the Niners head coaching job in 2017, he hired Saleh to be his defensive coordinator. Gus Bradley has gone on since getting fired from Jacksonville to be a DC for the Raiders, with the Colts, and now he's with the Niners under Saleh. He has familiarity with this organization. And if you were to lose Saleh, you could just elevate him, and I think that you'd still be able to be successful. You wouldn't be in a situation where you have to go from Robert Saleh, DeMeco Ryans, to Steve Wilkes to Nick Sorensen. you'd be able to go to an experienced DC. Nick Sorensen had no experience as a DC. And I think that Gus Bradley could be a pretty high-level defensive coordinator for San Francisco. There's also another internal option that I think could be kind of intriguing if you wanted to go the route that Shanahan kind of went with DeMeco Ryans, and that's KJ Wright. DeMeco Ryans was a linebackers coach for the Niners. He didn't have any coordinator experience. And to start off in 2021, it was a little bit rough in replacing Salah. But then that defense found a groove. And in 2022, they are excellent under DeMeco. And you look at what DeMeco's doing right now, the Texans have the best defense in football. So KJ Wright is a defensive quality control coach right now, but if you wanted to go younger, you could go with him. Or you promote Gus Bradley and KJ Wright maybe waiting in the wings. As far as an external candidate, this name kind of popped up to me the other day. Jonathan Gannon, if he got fired by the Arizona Cardinals, but he kind of runs a hybrid 3-4, and Shanahan wants to stick with the 4-3 wide 9. If Kevin Stefanski got fired by the Cleveland Browns and the new head coach wanted to bring in his own defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz has done a terrific job with that Cleveland defense. They've been one of the best defenses in football under his tutelage. Jim Schwartz also won a Super Bowl with the Eagles back in 2017. He runs the wide 9. So if you want to continue to run the wide 9, go with Jim Schwartz. And you want to talk about a guy who loves ball, who's intense, that's Schwartz. Now, he's not as quite player-friendly as Salah, but players love him. And that's another option out there externally. Ali, hey, Chase and Chip. What would some favorable, unfavorable playoff matchups be for the Niners? That's a good question. If the Niners had to go on the road and play the Rams in the wild card round in a 7-2, I think that would be really difficult. If they had to go to Seattle and play in a 7-2 or a 6-3, that could be hard. Favorable, given how the Eagles are playing right now, I think if the Niners played the Eagles right now on Sunday, I think that San Francisco would win that game. Philadelphia's kind of reeling right now. They're lacking confidence, whereas the Niners are gaining confidence and they have momentum. Kyle Shanahan against Vic Fangio would be an incredible matchup. Niner fans know what Vic Fangio is capable of, and that Eagles defense is great. But their offense right now stinks. And so I would like the Niners in that game against Philadelphia. I would like San Francisco to go on the road and beat Green Bay because they fared well against the Packers, and Shanahan has kind of owned Matt LaFleur, and in big games, San Francisco has pulled off a lot of upsets against Green Bay. So those are some things that kind of come to mind based upon your question. Good one, though. Fun to talk about. X-record skills. Do you think Brandon Aiyuk will even touch the field, or is that relationship long and gone? Playoffs around the corner. I don't think he touches the field, which is unfortunate because if you got him on the field and healthy, combined with the skill set of Ricky Pearsall, those are two of the best route runners in football. And then you add Jawan Jennings as your 3 and Demarcus Robinson as your number 4. That's a damn good 1 through 4 wide receiver punch for San Francisco. But Brandon Aiyuk has given up on this team. The fact that he's not fighting this situation with the NFL Players Association tells me he's done with San Francisco, wants no part of rocking the scarlet, red, gold, and white ever again. And it's a shame because he developed into a really special player, and that has soured very, very quickly. Justin Spears, what's the word on Kendrick Bourne? I'd like to see him in the rotation and see what else he can contribute to the team. He helped to save the season. I mean, when Mac Jones made his first start week 2 against the Saints, Kendrick Bourne was signed that week. He stepped in and made some really big plays. Had that career game in week 5 against the Rams. He's had some high-level performances. Went over 100 yards against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road. But he's slid down the depth chart just because Pearsall has come back. Demarcus Robinson came off that suspension. He's gotten more opportunities. Jawan Jennings getting targeted a little bit more. It doesn't help, obviously, that George Kittle, for Kendrick Bourne, it helps with the Niners offense, but George Kittle getting a bulk share of the targets as well. Christian McCaffrey so involved in the pass game. I wouldn't mind bringing back Kendrick Bourne next year because as like a 4th, 5th wide receiver, I think that he'd be cheap, and clearly he has shown that he can still play at a really good level. Black Mask, what's your thoughts on the rookie quarterback and how that could develop for next year? So Curtis Rourke had his practice window opened, 7th round pick out of Indiana, played at Indiana last year, led them to the college football playoff, and at that time, prior to this year, the best year in program history, he played the season on a torn ACL. He is a tough pocket quarterback who has good pocket mobility, but isn't going to hurt you with his legs outside of structure. He can layer throws and anticipate pretty damn well. He has a good arm. He's a big-bodied quarterback. They call him the Maple Missile because he's from Canada. If the Niners are impressed with him for the rest of the year in practice, and the Niners get a really good offer for Mac Jones after the year, let's say a 2nd and a 4th round pick, and the Niners think that Curtis Rourke could be the QB2, that could make Mac Jones expendable if the Niners want to get some good draft compensation back. Niner gang, do you truly believe that Bosa and Warner will return next year healthy? I do. Nick Bosa takes as good a care of his body as anybody in the NFL. I know that he's going to do everything that he can to come back off that knee injury. And for Fred Warner, he's already progressing well. I mean, there's light chatter that potentially he could come back this year. Fred Warner is going to do everything that he can to get back for San Francisco, perhaps in the NFL playoffs. If the Niners were to make it to the Super Bowl, I don't think that you'll be able to keep number 54 off the field. And Fred Warner had an update on Thursday on his podcast. He is walking 10 toes down, no longer needs a boot. He is doing some running on an underwater treadmill. He's weight bearing now. There was a video of him cold plunging in Lake Tahoe. He didn't need any help getting in the water. He was just timid of getting in the water because it's freezing, especially this time of year. And so Fred Warner is progressing really well. He even said that himself, that the recovery is coming along great. And he's pretty amazed at how quickly he's come along and how fast time has gone since that injury against Tampa Bay. So I think Warner for sure will be healthy next year. And Nick Bosa next year will be healthy. And hopefully Fred Warner can come back at some point this year, but that would require, I think, for the Niners to make it to the Super Bowl. Maybe the NFC Championship game. John Lynch was also asked on the radio on Thursday about Fred Warner coming back, and he said, you know what? You know he's going to try to do everything to get on the field, but I think that would be pretty crazy if you were to come back. The 49er guy, last question here. Has John Lynch provided stats on Eric Kendricks? What do you mean stats? Do you mean, status? Status makes sense. So recording the show on Thursday during the live show, Shanahan said on Wednesday that he hurt his calf. And so we're not sure if he's going to be able to play on Sunday against Tennessee. If you hold him out against Tennessee, hopefully he can play the following week on the road against Indy. What's notable is that he has been a very durable player throughout his career. He's been in the league for 10 years. He's had more than 100 tackles in 9 straight seasons. That requires you being healthy and not missing a lot of time, if any. So hopefully he can play because this Niners team at linebacker, it's very thin. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more Niners coverage right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Appreciate all of you for always tuning in and supporting the show. All right, good live show here today. 4 segments down. You're all the best. Got to all of your super chats. Chip and I will next be live Sunday. Niners, Titans, watch party. That's why you got to hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell icon. Turn on your notifications. Therefore, anytime we go live, you will get that push notification. I-Man Report, $2 super chat coming in. If Salah gets another head coaching gig, I hope it's not Atlanta. So, again, like I was kind of saying earlier, Robert Saleh was with such an awful organization with the Jets. You can't go somewhere else where there's no stability. The other thing with the Falcons, they hired Raheem Morris. He's a defensive coach. I don't think Atlanta doubles down on another defensive coach because they need to get the quarterback spot right or develop Michael Penix. So I hope it's not Atlanta either. That organization is a shit show. VC Nick, $2 super chat. Niners have a tiebreaker with the Rams for divisional record. They do not because they lost the most recent game. But if the Rams lose against Arizona and Seattle and the Niners win out, which includes a win over Seattle, Niners then can win the division with a 5-1 divisional record and obviously have the tiebreaker over the Seahawks in that scenario. So that's what I tried to simplify a little bit earlier. Okay, now we're hopping on out of here. 75 Dignan, you keep crushing it as well. For Chip, I am Chase. Thanks to the Niner gang for always hanging out here with us. It's always a blast and a pleasure. And we'll catch you soon here on the show. Peace.